What's up, beautiful world? This is TNA, Top Notch Audio, and welcome to another episode of r/slash malicious compliance. Our first story will be, my teacher called my work bad and my attitude even worse. It then got featured in the biggest art gallery in the country. And then, you want proof I got hurt? It'll cost your job. And finally, neighbor complaining about noise. If this is your first time listening, remember to hit that subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner. If this is not your first time, welcome back. Enjoy the stories. And this next story is posted by /a drunken Scott. My teacher called my work bad and my attitude even worse. It then got featured in the biggest art gallery in the country. I might not be in the right sub. My art teacher said I wasn't good enough, so I worked my darn hardest to prove him wrong is the summary. Context. The school I go to is well respected in my country, so it was not uncommon for venues to request to display a student's work or to ask for students to sing live for them. On the occasion in question, the largest gallery in the country, Gallery X, had asked my school to submit inspired art to be out on display. The school agreed and said that they would submit 5 pieces of work, 1 piece per year for years 9 to 13. Back to the story. I hated art growing up, but it was a mandatory subject until you got to choose your subjects in year 10. Needless to say, I dropped the subject ASAP. Despite hating the subject, I still put effort into my work and some of it wasn't that bad. However, at the same time, I would not hide away from expressing my views when we were given a task that I didn't see a point to, even if the teacher was in earshot. Needless to say, my relationship with the art department faculty wasn't the best. My teacher at the time particularly had it in for me. He was one of those teachers that has the view that their subject should be your most important subject, regardless of your future ambitions. If he thought that you weren't prioritizing art, then he would make your life hell. Yet again, I hated art as a subject. He knew this, but I would still do any work set to the best of my ability. We had just finished a project where we had to mix different pigments to create our own unique color. Being colorblind, I struggled a lot as I literally could not differentiate between half of the pigments. I gave it my all, but ended up giving up halfway through the project. My teacher hated me for giving up. In his defense, he had tried to make it as easy as possible for me, but I hated the subject and saw a way out, so I took it. My teacher was beyond mad. When we went to hand the project in, he gave me a lecture about how I need to put in more effort and work harder because of the quality of work was unacceptable. Remember, I literally couldn't see half of the project. Once that project was finished, my teacher told us that Gallery X had asked that we create some inspired art. We were basically shown 5 different paintings that we were supposed to recreate in our own way. There was a big fuss about this. People were saying that our schools would be giving out scholarships, that there was a $10,000 reward and other nonsense that 14-year-olds make up. But nevertheless, everyone wanted to be the one have their painting in Gallery X. So for the next month and a half in my art classes, we would work on our piece. After the first week of working my piece, the excitement of the new project wore off, and so did my eagerness in lessons. My teacher noticed this and went from complimenting my work to yelling at me about what I was doing wrong. By the 4th week, I was over the project and just wanted to be done with this. With 2 weeks left on the project, my teacher pulls me aside to tell me that my work isn't good enough and I need to improve it. I tried to improve, but he kept on belittling me. So out of arrogance and spite, I made art my most important subject until the end of this project. I dragged myself to each lesson, quietly working myself to the bone, counting down the days until the deadline of the project. After what seemed like a year to 14-year-old me, the second last lesson arrives. This lesson was not for final touches or anything like that. My teacher had decided that he should review what each student had done well and where they could have improved. He walks around the classroom, complimenting everyone's work until he gets to mine. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I'm pretty sure none of it was positive. I do remember, however, he finished talking about mine. You can tell that OP hasn't given this any thought and hasn't taken this seriously. That stung like a butch because yes, I had lost interest in it, but I had still worked hard in lessons and given it my best shot. The bell then went and I sulked out of the class with my tail between my legs. The last lesson finally comes and I can't wait to be over with this stupid project. This lesson was the big one too. The judges from Gallery X were coming to school to judge all of the work. They come into our class, do all the formalities. These look all so good. I have no idea how we can decide on only one, etc. Then they start walking around the room muttering to each other. The whole class is stood silently at the back trying to hear what they are saying. They do a full lap of the room, then walk back over to my spot. I don't even notice this as I had tuned out after they had looked at the second painting. They then ask the teacher whose work they are stood over. He looks at them almost in disbelief as he gestures to me. I snap out of my daydream and just smile politely with no idea what is going on. The judges then confer for a while, whilst my teacher and I frantically try to figure out what is going on. Finally, after about 5 minutes of mumbling, they say that they want to shortlist it to potentially be shown in Gallery X. I look on at them in shock, then yet again smile politely and say, "Thank you." I cannot begin to describe the look on my teacher's face. I don't think I have ever seen someone more confused, angry, and disappointed all at the same time. My teacher then begrudgingly thanks the judges and walks them to the door. He thanks them again as they leave, then stumbles back to the class. He doesn't even congratulate me on my work. He just defeatedly says, "Good work, everyone. As a reward, I'll put on a documentary for you all to watch." And he did just that, not saying another thing until the end of class. Later on that week, I got an email from Gallery X asking for my permission to display my work, of which I happily said yes to. To sum it up, the work that he disrespected and said that no effort into was selected from 192 others, got featured in the biggest art gallery in the country. Hope you enjoyed. And this next story is posted by /the classy fatso. You want proof I got hurt? It'll cost you a job. A bit of backstory. I've worked a call center at a well-respected company in my area for about 2 years now. When I was about a year in, I started working from home. At this point, my supervisor wasn't the best person. I don't know if she didn't like me because I didn't take her garbage like everyone else on the team did, or if it was something else entirely. We butt heads a lot. Anyway, a few months ago in April, the desk chair at my home office broke while I was noting an account. I'm not the lightest guy, as my username might imply, and it was a really old chair I got from my ex. My back was injured really bad, parts of the chair were dug into my skin, I had cuts, and parts of my shirt were stained red and cut up from the injuries. I messaged my supervisor immediately about this, telling her I would be clocking out to go to the hospital. Now, I have never been late a day in my life, and I almost never use time off, even when it's offered. There was no reason for me to be skipping work that day either, especially since the office was so slow. After I'm in my car with a towel on the driver's seat, my supervisor texts me, somehow offended that I was going to the emergency room. She later said she didn't believe me and that if I wanted any kind of workers' comp, I had to prove it to her. Cue malicious compliance. Once I was home from the ER, I snapped a photo of my freshly stitched back, my stained shirt, and a picture of the broken chair. I sent a photo of these things to her, as well as a screenshot of the text to HR and the site director, just to make sure nothing got lost. I later got reimbursed for my time, the medical bills, and a $400 replacement chair to use moving forward. The day after I came back, I was called by the site director, who told me I would be changing to another team, and a week later, I was told my old supervisor was no longer with the company. The moral of the story: don't take guff from anyone and always keep the receipts. And this story is posted by /pleasureboat. Neighbor complaining about noise. Our rental contract, as is normal here, stipulates a quiet period between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. every night where we're not supposed to be loud. We moved in on a Saturday and were of course unpacking on Sunday, so our new neighbor below us knocked on our door and screamed at us and told us to read the part of our contract about the quiet period. So I did, and Sundays aren't mentioned. 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. every day of the week. So we carried on. He has called the police on us several times for just doing normal things such as rearranging furniture. Each time he would lie to the police that he had come to speak to us about it first, which he had not. The reasons included things like dropping things too often, to using the stairs at night. These reasons are of course ridiculous, but each time I have just shown them the contract which all residents sign. If he has signed the contract, He consents to me making noise during these periods. We complained to the letting agency that he was harassing us for simply making the normal amount of noise people make from living in an apartment. However, nothing changed. I checked with our other neighbors to see if they had any complaints about our noise level, and they all said no. After he called the police several times, I decided to begin malicious compliance. I went down to the neighbor with a copy of the house rules, which we have all signed, and I told him to please read them, specifically the exact times which are the quiet period. Then, for the next week or so, any hammering, drilling, or other loud things I had to do, I saved for 9:50 p.m. Even if I didn't have anything I needed to do, I made sure to make noise right up until 10 p.m. After I did this for about a week, we stopped hearing from him and haven't had any noise complaints since. And it's been several months now. Now, a couple of heavy metal fans have moved into the apartment next to him, and I couldn't be happier. Those were 3 great stories. To hear the best stories of the week, click on the video in the top left-hand corner. To hear more Reddit stories all related to what you just heard, click on the video in the top right-hand corner. If you have not already done so, click on the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Once again, this is TNA, Top Notch Audio. Thank you for listening and have yourself a great day.